They left me off the guest list for the $13,000 party I paid for. My sister laughed. Mom said it was better without me. I didn't argue, just pulled every deposit. Within minutes, the lights went out and their phones exploded that I'm 35, the oldest of three kids. My sister Ava is 32, my younger brother Josh is 28. If you asked my parents, though, you'd think I was just some distant cousin instead of their firstborn son. That's how it's always felt, like I was part of the family in name, but never quite of it. I learned early on that my role wasn't to be celebrated, but to support. When I was 17, I got my first job bagging groceries. My paycheck? It went toward helping Ava buy a prom dress. At 21, I co-signed Josh's first car loan because our parents said my credit was better and more reliable. When Ava and Josh went out partying, I was the one who drove across town at 2 a.m. to pick them up, even if I had work the next morning. I did it all without complaint, thinking that's what family does. I believed it meant that when my turn came, graduations, job promotions, my own milestones, they'd show up for me too. Except they never did. When I graduated college, my parents didn't come. Ava had a bad week, and Josh had a soccer game. They sent a card. When I got my first apartment, nobody helped me move in. My mom called that day, but only to ask if I could send Josh some money because he was struggling. I kept telling myself I was overthinking, that maybe this was just family dynamics, that my quiet reliability made them assume I didn't need recognition. Then Ava's engagement happened. She called me one evening, voice sweet as honey. "Big brother, I need your help. We want to throw this huge party. Our birthdays and my engagement all in one. It'll be the event of the year. Only thing is, well, you know how tight things are for us." She didn't say the words outright, but I knew what she meant. Money. I asked her how much she needed. She hesitated, then rattled off a list. Deposit for the venue, catering, decorations. "Just to lock things in," she said. "I'll figure out the rest later." The total was $13,000. That's not pocket change, even for me. I hesitated, but then I thought of all the years I'd swallowed disappointment. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment I'd finally be included, not as the backup driver or the financial safety net, but as an actual part of the celebration. So I agreed. I transferred deposits, signed contracts under my name, and made sure everything was set. The caterers knew me by name. The venue manager emailed me personally. My fingerprints were all over this event, even though my name wasn't on the banner. The weeks leading up to the party were oddly quiet. Ava didn't loop me in on the guest list. My mom barely mentioned it. When I asked about the schedule, she brushed me off. "Don't worry, you'll see when you get there." It stung, but I told myself not to read too much into it. I bought a nice suit, picked out a thoughtful engagement gift, cleared my calendar. I kept imagining myself walking into the venue, being greeted with hugs and laughter, finally seen as more than just a wallet. The night came. I arrived at the venue, an elegant hall downtown I'd picked out myself when Ava sent me vague Pinterest boards. The place looked gorgeous, chandeliers glowing, soft music playing, laughter echoing out the doors. I felt a flicker of pride. I made this happen. At the check-in table, a young attendant flipped through her guest list binder. Her polite smile faltered. "I'm sorry, sir, you're not on the list." I blinked. "Check again. It's under my name." She skimmed the pages twice, then shook her head. "I don't see it. Maybe you're with someone else." I laughed awkwardly, pulling out my phone. No, I'm family. I'll just text my sister." I sent a message. "Hey, I'm here. At the door. Can you let them know?" No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. I stood there, heat rising in my face as other guests filed past me, their names called out cheerfully from the list. Couples smiling, people dressed to the nines, all walking into the party I paid for. Finally, I stepped outside, heart hammering. That's when I saw her, my mom. She was leaning against the wall, smoking, like she had no care in the world. She looked genuinely startled when she saw me. "Oh, you came." Her tone wasn't welcoming. It was as if I'd crashed. I forced a smile. "Of course I came. I helped pay for this, remember? Why wouldn't I?" She exhaled a stream of smoke, her eyes darting away. "It was Ava's decision. She thought it would just be awkward if you came. You know how you are." My stomach dropped. "Awkward? I'm her brother." That's when she said it, so casually it almost didn't register. "It was better without you. Better without me." I just stood there. Years of picking them up, loaning money, silently absorbing every slight, all rushing back at once. And in that moment, something inside me broke, not with anger, but with clarity. They didn't forget me. They never forget me. They just never wanted me. I didn't storm inside. I didn't shout. I didn't demand answers or throw a scene. That's what they probably expected me to do, prove them right about me being awkward or difficult. Instead, I stood under the glow of the venue's chandelier-lit windows, listening to faint laughter and clinking glasses from the party I funded, and I made a choice. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to pull every string I had tied into this event. The first call I made was to the caterers, a high-end company, the kind that delivers trays of perfectly plated hors d'oeuvres and staffs waiters with white gloves. The owner knew me by name. I'd been the one in every email, every confirmation call. When she picked up, I didn't hesitate. This is my name. I need to cancel service immediately. Pull every tray and every staff member out of venue. Effective now. She paused. Sir, the event is already underway. Are you sure? Positive. My deposits cover your losses. Pack it all up. I could hear the shuffle of her headset, her voice firm as she relayed orders. Within 5 minutes, I saw the kitchen doors open, and staff began quietly carting trays of food out. Guests inside were still mingling, oblivious. Next was the lighting and sound. The venue's AV manager had my deposit too. I called him directly. Hey, it's my name. And the lighting package. Shut it all down. There was hesitation, a muffled, but sir, the event. Shut it down. I'll handle the contract breach. 15 minutes later, chandeliers dimmed one by one, like someone cutting power to a stage play. The background music stuttered and died, leaving the chatter of confused voices echoing in the darkened hall. I wasn't done. The bar. They'd brought in an open bar service, but the deposit, mine. I called the manager. Close the bar. Pull your people. I swear. I could almost hear the panic ripple through the venue as bartenders began removing bottles, sealing coolers, and wheeling carts back out the door. Guests lined up for drinks suddenly found themselves staring at empty counters. Inside, the mood shifted fast. Confusion turned to whispers. Whispers to frustration. I stood outside, leaning against my car, watching through the large windows as Ava's perfect event of the year started unraveling in real time. My phone lit up. First a text from Ava. WTF are you doing? The food is gone. Did you cancel the caterers? Then my mom. You're being dramatic. Stop this right now before you embarrass us further. I didn't reply. The call started next. Ava screaming, my dad demanding I fix it, Josh threatening to kick my ass if I didn't. I let them all go to voicemail. Meanwhile, guests began leaving. Some pulled out their phones, recording videos of the chaos. A few laughed, thinking it was some kind of planned stunt. But most were angry, hungry, confused, irritated that they'd shown up to what was now an empty, powerless hall. Within half an hour, the venue manager himself called me. Sir, are you sure you want to enforce these cancellations? The client is furious. They're not the client. I corrected flatly. I am. Check the contracts. Every deposit, every signature, it's all under my name. I'm exercising my rights as the paying party. Pull everything. There was a long silence, then a simple, understood. By the time I finally left, the once glittering party was a hollow shell. No music, no food, guests streaming out with muttered complaints. My sister standing in the middle of it all, furious and red-faced, her fiancé beside her looking like he wanted to evaporate. And my parents, my mom especially, glaring at me like I'd set fire to the house. But here's the thing, I hadn't screamed. I hadn't fought. I hadn't lifted a single hand. I'd just reclaimed what was mine. That night, as I sat at home in my quiet apartment, my phone buzzing nonstop with messages, I realized something profound. I didn't feel guilty, not even a little. Because for the first time in my life, I hadn't played the role they wrote for me. The dependable wallet, the background character, the one who silently takes the scraps while everyone else feasts. I had chosen myself. Update 1. Update 1. The aftermath of that night was like watching a controlled demolition. Only instead of buildings, it was my family's carefully curated image collapsing in slow motion. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was lit up like a Christmas tree. Dozens of missed calls, unread messages, and voicemails stacked one after another. I scrolled through them, half amused, half exhausted, already knowing what they'd say before even opening. From my dad at 12:14 a.m. Pick up the phone. We need to talk. What you did was unacceptable. From my mom at 12:32 a.m. You need to grow up. This was your sister's night, and you made it about you. Shameful. From my sister at 1:07 a.m. Congrats, you just ruined the happiest day of my life. Don't ever contact me again. And from my cousin Daniel, the family black sheep, at 1:46 a.m. LMAO bro, you're a legend. The way the lights cut off right as she was about to make a toast? Cinematic. I didn't reply to any of them. Not yet. Instead, I made coffee, sat down at my desk, and opened my laptop. I pulled up the contracts, the invoices, the email confirmations, every piece of paper that proved one thing. I was the sole financial backer of that event. The caterers answered to me. The venue answered to me. The DJ, the florist, even the photo booth rental. Me. For years, my family had treated me like an ATM with a mouth. A silent provider who wasn't supposed to ask questions or expect gratitude. Just swipe the card, shut up, and step aside. But last night, for the first time, I reminded them whose card it actually was. Around noon, the first knock came. Not a polite knock. A pounding, angry fist against my door. I already knew who it was. I opened it to see my dad, his face red, his jaw tight, his body practically vibrating with rage. He didn't wait to be invited in. He shoved past me into the living room. Do you realize what you've done? He barked, spinning on his heel to face me. Do you understand the humiliation you caused your sister? Your mother? Me? People are calling, asking what happened. Your sister's fiancé's parents think we're lunatics. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, calm. Do they also know you cut me from the guest list of the event I paid for? That's not the point, he snapped. Your family. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made for appearances. You could have been gracious. Let her have her moment, instead of throwing a tantrum like a spoiled child. A laugh escaped me. Not loud, not mocking, just tired. I walked over to the coffee table, picked up the neat folder I'd prepared that morning, and set it down in front of him. Inside, every receipt, every contract, every email. My name, my bank account, my money. Here's the thing, I said evenly. It was my event, my money, my planning, my name on every contract. And when you all decided I wasn't welcome, you made it perfectly clear. So I simply corrected the mistake. You wanted a party without me? You got one. Completely without me. His face shifted, still angry, but now uneasy. He flipped through the pages, muttering, You still don't treat family this way. No matter what, family comes first. I looked him straight in the eye. Then why didn't family treat me like family? That stopped him cold. For a moment, the only sound was the shuffle of paper. That evening, my cousin Daniel sent me screenshots from Facebook and Instagram. Guests were already buzzing. One post read, Wildest engagement party I've ever been to. Half the food disappeared mid-bite. The lights went out. Music cut. People were stumbling in the dark like a sitcom. Turns out the guy who paid for it all wasn't even invited. Honestly, respect. Another was harsher. If my fiancé's family treated me like that, I'd cancel the wedding. The disrespect is insane. Not all were supportive. Plenty of people thought I was immature or vindictive, but for the first time in my life, the narrative wasn't controlled by my parents. The truth was out there, messy and public, and they couldn't spin it away with one of mom's guilt trips or dad's lectures. By midnight, I had 3 new voicemails from mom. The first, This family is falling apart because of your stubbornness. You need to fix it. The second, her voice cracking. Do you hate us that much? The third, quiet, almost a whisper. Please call me back. We can't undo what happened, but maybe we can move forward. But I didn't call. For the first time in years, I had no desire to chase their approval, to beg for scraps of love disguised as duty. I realized something in the silence. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped funding the illusion. And that illusion collapsed the second the lights went out. Final update. It's been about 3 months since the party incident, and I've had time to process everything that unraveled afterward. At first, I thought it would just blow over, that my family would regroup, pretend it never happened, and try to fold me back into the same role I'd played for years. But what actually happened was far stranger, messier, and, in a way, liberating. The wedding fallout. The engagement party disaster rippled into my sister's wedding planning. Venues suddenly weren't available anymore. Caterers who'd worked with me refused to take their business after they learned what happened. Word had spread in the local vendor circles that my family had cut me out after I fronted the money, and no one wanted to deal with them. At one point, my sister called me, first time in months. Her voice was brittle, shaky, but still proud. She said, "Do you realize what you've done? Now we can't book anything decent, and I'm stuck begging people to work with us. You ruined my wedding." I let her finish, then calmly replied, "I didn't ruin your wedding. You did, the second you decided I was just a wallet and not family." She hung up. We haven't spoken since. From what Daniel tells me, she and her fiancé ended up postponing the wedding indefinitely. My parents' reaction: my dad doubled down. He sent me a letter, handwritten, of all things, that basically boiled down to, "You're ungrateful, selfish, and you'll regret isolating yourself." My mom, on the other hand, cracked. She started texting me photos, old family vacations, birthdays, my college graduation, captioned with things like, "Remember when we were happy?" or "We're still your family." The guilt tripping was relentless. For a week, I almost caved. Almost. But then I remembered standing in my living room, watching my dad flip through receipts with that mix of anger and disbelief. Because for once, he couldn't spin the truth. That image keeps me grounded. The social aftermath. The story leaked further than I expected. Friends of friends started messaging me, saying they'd seen posts about the guy who pulled the plug on his sister's engagement party. Some people treated me like a hero, others like a cautionary tale. At work, a colleague who barely spoke to me before pulled me aside and said, "Man, I don't know the full story, but good for you." Boundaries are brutal, but necessary. For the first time in a long while, I felt respected. Not as someone's provider, not as the responsible sibling, but as a person who finally drew a line and meant it. What I did next: I used to spend most of my money trying to keep the peace in my family, paying for events, covering emergencies, being the reliable one. Now, I redirected that energy. I booked a solo trip abroad, sat in little cafes where no one knew my name, walked through quiet streets with no one calling me selfish. I realized how much of my life I'd wasted waiting for approval that was never coming. I also started therapy, not because of one party, but because I finally admitted to myself that years of being treated like an ATM had left scars. My therapist said something that hit me hard. "You didn't betray your family. You stopped betraying yourself." Where things stand now: my family hasn't stopped trying to contact me, but the tone has shifted. The rage cooled into silence. The guilt trips turned into short, neutral updates. "We're doing fine. Hope you're well." I don't respond. Not out of spite, but because I don't need to. Daniel told me recently that my absence still gets brought up at gatherings. Apparently, my sister complains that everything feels off without him. My mom just sighs. My dad says nothing. And me? I sleep better. I breathe easier. I don't jump every time my phone buzzes, bracing for another demand disguised as a favor. Final reflection. Here's the truth. Shutting off the lights that night didn't just end a party. It ended the illusion I'd been living under for years, that if I kept giving, kept paying, kept sacrificing, I'd eventually be loved and appreciated. It turns out, love that has to be bought isn't love at all. Walking away wasn't easy. Some days it still aches. Family rejection cuts deeper than anything else. But when I think back to my sister laughing at the idea that I'd even want to be there, or my mom saying it was better without me, I know I made the right call. The party ended in darkness. My life, ironically, feels brighter than it ever has.